Hello, welcome back. I know it's been a while, 4 months to be exact, and I'm really sorry about that, but I think I kind of just needed a break. You know what? Let's just get right into flipping through some decks, presenting some imagery so that I don't bore you with this whole intro, and I'll explain while I flip through these decks. So, some of these are recent acquisitions. Most of these are, not all of them, but for example, the Hush Tower is a recent acquisition. But I won't be doing like my last 10 decks in this video. I won't be doing like, recent acquisitions. I'll probably do that in another video. So yeah, what else? My mind is so scattered. I'm all over the place. Yeah, so like I said, a lot of these are new decks to me, newer decks. I'll do a separate video for the new decks. I'm not going to go through the decks I've been using for the past like 4 months because I would just, I don't know, this video would be 3 hours long. And I think an hour is what I tend to average in terms of video length. So let's just stick to that. Okay, let's just stick to an hour or under an hour. So I don't know why I feel like riffle shuffling this. It's not a particularly great card stock to riffle shuffle, to be honest. It's kind of stiff. But it's just so satisfying for me to riffle shuffle that I can't help it. It's like a compulsion. So yeah, I'm not gonna go over all the decks I've been using this summer, these past months, so I'd be here forever. I'm just gonna go over like kind of like what I'm using right now or some decks of interest to me, as I kind of talk through, why I've been gone. So yeah, so I think the Hush Tower pairs really well with the Fallen Angels, so I'm gonna bring that out. Okay, careful with like, I have an open flame here, so I get really nervous with cards and open flames, but yeah, I think this is a really great pairing. I did show off the Fallen Angels in a spring video, I think, but I think this is a deck that works well for like spring, late autumn, winter. I think it's more of one of those decks that inhabits like a very liminal kind of space, so the transition between seasons is when I tend to bring out this deck. So yeah, it is good for like autumn, winter, of course, and certain times in spring, just because of the greenery, the lushness of it. So I did mention this in a spring video, but I'm bringing this out again now in autumn, and it's great for spooky season as well. But I think these decks pair really well together. So okay, oh yeah, I was tagged in the 54321 tag, which was started by Kelly Bear, and I was tagged by Rachel over at Second Thoughts About the Mission, so that's the next video I'm going to do and upload. Don't worry, I have a lot of catching up to do, but I will catch up. But I just felt like I needed to do this video first. So I love that. I love this combination, I don't know. So I don't know what's been going on in my life. So here's what led me to, here's what kind of put me off making videos for quite some time. I originally made a video back in May that I very clumsily deleted. It was entirely my fault in the editing process. And it was a longer video, and it was all about, like the books I was reading at the time, or my TBR rather, the decks I was using at the time. So that was really frustrating for me because that actually covered about 2 or 3 months worth of um, like tarot content, so to speak, like the decks I'd been using and the books I'd acquired since around February to so like from February to May or so. So it covered like 3 months, 3 or 2 months, so March, April, May. Um, the acquisitions I'd gotten in that time frame and the books I'd gotten, the stuff I was looking forward to using, and that video got deleted. And then I did make another video after that, but I just felt really disenchanted. I don't know what the right word for it is. I just felt really like the wind had just been knocked out of me when that video got deleted. And I was like, oh, I cannot. Just the thought of making another catch up at present video was enough to just completely put me off video making, content creation forever, because I was like thinking, of course I wasn't, I knew it wasn't feasible to do another video going over what I lost, right, in the previous video, plus and then some. So that seemed like a monumental task, and it seemed like an impossible task, and I just kept putting it off, and I was not enjoying the idea of coming back and explaining all of this. I think this in itself is making this video right now is quite nerve-wracking for me because I feel like I have to justify myself, and I don't. But I do feel an obligation to you, my viewers, as an audience, because I do have I've reached 400 subscribers, and that's quite a big feat. It's quite a big achievement for me, and I do feel an obligation to kind of explain what's been going on with me. So that did put me off, and I was like, I cannot be asked to make another, repeat the same video, and I'm not looking forward to making another at present video. I was so out of it during the summer. I just did not want to make any videos, and as I kept postponing it, it just the size, the magnitude of just the idea of coming back to making videos was so gargantuan. It was like this mountain. It was like Mount Everest. I just couldn't even I just couldn't even approach it. I couldn't even begin to climb it, or it was just the idea of making another video just to explain why I had been absent. Just it was like a snowball effect, right? Just, I don't know if I'm using too many metaphors, but it was like this snowball effect, and it just kept building up and building up and building up, and to the point where it was just so stressful, and I just couldn't, and I put it off for so long. I'm finally biting the bullet and just doing it for the sake of doing it, because I don't think I can put it off any longer. And because I really want to catch up with a lot of tags, I want to do a lot of tags. And there was this video I wanted to make about the Fool's Journey and the ego, the development of the ego. That's more of a tarot theory video that I want to upload. So, this is a necessary evil, if I can even call it that. Coming back to this, making an at present is just part of the deal. So yeah, what else have I been up to? So May, June, and July were pretty busy months for me, work-wise. It was kind of peak. We were kind of at peak season. I don't know if you could even call it that. We were just at peak activity because I worked at English as a second language, an English academy. So for people learning English as a second language. And it was kind of like peak exam season, and it was just I was really swamped with work. I just didn't have time to like decompress and make tarot videos, so that was part of it as well. And then my school ended in we had a summer school in July. We had like a summer school sessions. And then in August I finally had my summer vacation. And then I decided not to go back because well, just shit concerning they weren't really being very fair to me. I was kind of dissatisfied with the way that things were being handled at the academy. They were kind of exploiting me, to be fair. They were kind of exploiting me, and we weren't able to reach an agreement. So, yeah, it just didn't work out. And right now, okay, so on top of that, on top of work, my mental health took a dip around August, September. Took quite a steep. It kind of how do I say this? It shit hit the fan around that time that I decided not to go back to work. And right now I'm just focusing. I'm not actively searching. So I do have a job. I have a part-time job where I give tutoring sessions on Wednesdays, English tutoring sessions. So I do have that, but beyond that, I'm not looking to fill up the rest of my time with another job because my mental health right now is really, I'm not very stable right now, and I'm kind of worried. The possibility of me even going back to the hospital, to a psych ward was, that possibility came up when I was talking with my psychiatrist. So if I don't improve, if the medication doesn't work, then I will have to probably stay some time in a psych ward again for the third time. So that gives you an idea of my mental health. I mean, I'm putting on a brave face, but I think I'm doing better. I am doing better since I last kind of had that talk with my psychiatrist, but how perfect is that? But okay, move on to another deck. Yeah, that is kind of throwing a wrench in the works because I do have a trip planned to the UK at the beginning of November to visit my partner and also to to go to a show, one of my favorite bands. So if I do end up spending some time in the psych ward again, I don't know how long I would be there for, and that trip could potentially not happen. So that is a really scary thought to me. So I'm trying my best to like keep myself afloat. The other thing I'm working on actually, so I did say I'm not actively looking for a job because I'm focusing on my mental health, but I'm also focusing on something else. And since the pandemic, Aquarian Tarot, this is a great pick for autumn, I think. I love it. I've been using it obsessively. So another thing I've been focusing on actually is a poetry pamphlet. So ever since I guess before the pandemic, I had the intention of, I'd been writing, so I am a poet, I'm a writer. I'd been writing poems here and there, and I was just thinking of putting them together for just, making like a little collection, like a little pamphlet. And that kind of, I don't know what happened, but I just stopped writing poetry for the longest time. and that never really manifested, materialized, whatever you wanna, whatever phrase you wanna use for that. And then suddenly, right when my mental health hit the shitter, I was suddenly really inspired again, and I started writing poetry again, like a maniac. I genuinely having hypomanic episodes where I would just write and write, and I'm still writing. I've gone back and looked at some of the material that I had before, and I've scrapped some of it, so some of it won't be going into the pamphlet. I've got newer stuff. I've got newer stuff that won't be going into the pamphlet either, because it doesn't meet my exacting standards. But I kind of discussed, Death has been stalking me for months and months and months. So, yeah, I actually discussed this with my friends, like, because I'm a perfectionist and I have OCD, not to use that as a crutch, but yeah, it's true. There's never going to be a point where I'm going to look at the bulk of my poetry and feel satisfied enough to be like, okay, yeah, I can publish this. I'm just going to keep like scrapping it and starting all over again. So there has to be a point of, I'm at this point now where I'm just writing stuff and I'm just letting it be. Okay, just let it be. Because otherwise, and it's all going in the pamphlet, because otherwise I'm never going to get anything published. And I want to self-publish this around November. So I'm getting closer to the my self-imposed deadline. And it is going to be like a self-published, like print on demand kind of thing, I was thinking. Yeah, what else can I say about the poetry? So yeah, I've been writing a lot of poetry. I've been reflecting a lot on my poetry, what it says about me, almost like psychoanalytically. I've been talking to my writer friends, poet friends, normal friends about, getting feedback from them, and I've talked at length about this with my friends, so I feel like I have nothing more to say, so that's kind of disappointing, because I could have said it on this video and it would have been really interesting. It would have made for really interesting content, but because I'm kind of like all like talked out, I've already talked about it at length with my friends, I kind of like don't feel like talking about it again. But suffice to say that there's just been a lot of reflection going on, how this pamphlet reflects me, and the main character of my pamphlet. So the pamphlet is going to be called Scum Angel and Other Poems, because the main centerpiece of the pamphlet is going to be a poem that comes in 6 acts called Scum Angel. And Scum Angel is a persona of sorts, and it's kind of complicated. I don't even really fully understand it myself. In terms of my poetry, I do automatic writing. My poetry ethos is really informed by automatic writing, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I channel as if I was some kind of like Delphic oracle, some kind of sibyl, right? If it doesn't feel channeled, then it's not worth it. It's not it's not worth it. It's not poetry to me specifically. I need to channel it. It just needs to come from a place outside of myself that still contains fragments of me at the same time. I don't know if I'm explaining that. I don't know. But I feel like us in the spiritual community, in the woo tarot community, kind of understand, you'll kind of get where I'm getting from, where you'll get where I'm coming from, right? About channeling, trance, entering into a trance-like state even. I don't know, connecting with things beyond us. I think we can relate to that as tarot readers. Maybe it is because I'm a tarot reader that I do this kind of automatic writing, but I'm not actually sure because I've been writing poetry for longer than that, and it has always been automatic for me. It's always been very channeled and oblique. It's always been very surreal, oblique, channeled. So that's what's been going on on that front. So yeah, poetry will be incoming. Hopefully by November. Yeah, and I'll talk all about it. I think I might actually dedicate a video to it. Why not? It's not tarot related, but it is personal, and this channel is all about, in theory, it's all about self-discovery and getting to know myself. And I'm going to include poetry in that equation now, not just tarot, I think. So, yeah, this channel, about this channel, I'm just going to keep blabbering on while I show decks. About the mission statement, I guess, of this channel. It was to be, I did intend for it to be a lot more formal. I did want it in the beginning to be a lot more like, you know, the channel Esoterica. A lot more, yeah, a lot more scripted, a lot more formal, more like detached from a personal point of view. Yeah, more detached, more impersonal. And then it turned out to just be completely subjective and personal, and because I just ended up doing tags and I got caught up in that, and tags are fun, what can I say? So sometimes I feel like I think, should I change the name of the channel? But then no, I don't. I'm happy with it as it is. It's just that I don't know, I worry that people might see my channel name and assume that my content is more than what it is. And I think I consider sometimes maybe I'm not being kind to myself when I say this, but I sometimes consider my content to be a little bit vapid. You know, because I do, not that tags are like vapid or anything, but because I do tags and I don't do as many tarot theory videos as I'd like to, you know, I just like to show off decks, which is fine, by the way. I worry that people might see like a kind of, what's the word for it? Well, I'm a poet and I struggle with words. There's a kind of disconnect between the name of my channel and the content I put out, I think. A discrepancy? No, there's another word for it that's not coming to my head right now. That's fine. I really love this deck. I have to say that it's been freakishly on point. I've been using it for client readings and for myself, and every single time it describes with perfect accuracy like what the mood is, what's going on. The only thing that I find maybe a fault in is that I do like the color scheme. I do like that it's colorful. But because my tarot aesthetic is a lot more muted, it's a lot more like classic, inspired by classic decks of antiquity, I feel like this kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, you know? So I find it, in terms of like aesthetically pairing it, I find it hard to pair it with other decks, but only in terms of aesthetics, because I don't mind bringing this deck out no matter what deck I'm using. I will bring it out. I have no qualms about that. But just aesthetically, it doesn't really match most of my decks. It's very minimal, it's very like contemporary, modern, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it doesn't really match the vibe that I go for usually, but because of its utility, for me, because of its usefulness, this is more of a utilitarian, utilitarian, if that's the word, deck for me. It's practical, it's pragmatic, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't mind it being the way it is, design-wise, even if aesthetically, I don't know, can you think of a similar deck that has like a more muted vibe? Like something with like cards that describe moods or energy, I don't know, stuff like, you know, stuff that says like anxiety, determination, happiness, intuition, stuff like that. I'm sure there's tons of decks and I'm just like overlooking them. But can you think of any that might fit this, might kind of have a similar use as this one, but has a more muted kind of aesthetic to it, maybe? Because then I can have the best of both worlds. I can use this deck with the more colourful decks in my collection, which are few and far between, but then I can have another deck that serves the same purpose, but I can then like pair with the rest of my decks. That would be like the ideal for me. So what else? What other decks? So I've been like enamored with, oh no, okay, wait, I don't know if I should even discuss this deck. I want to go through it quickly, but because I haven't talked about it much, but I did get the William Blake Tarot and I don't have much to say about it. I do want to say one thing though, and it's that I think they have the minors, like the elemental associations mixed up, in my opinion, because I actually think I'll make a video about this. Oh, I love that this is the first card. But I think I'll make a video about a video series about decks that don't really make sense and trying to find sense in them, trying to make sense out of them. And this is going to be in one of those videos. So it's interesting because poetry, I believe you could probably intuit from the borders that it is associated with earth. But the keywords for the cards in the poetry suit coincide perfectly with the keywords or the key phrases that you would associate with the wands. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, but like, let me see if I can find an example. So the Five of Poetry, yeah, see, like, the Five of Poetry is strife. So according to this deck, this would be the Five of Pentacles, but strife is a keyword that is associated with the Five of Wands, and it continues like that throughout all the suits. Yeah. I don't know, it's very Jesus-y, which I think makes sense because it is the William Blake. Like the Four of Poetry, I mean, yeah, you could argue harmony, Four of Pentacles, yeah. But painting, for instance, is supposed to be water. But then there's another card that it says hardship, right? But there's another card that has a keyword that is better associated with here we go, the Five of Music, right? So the Five of Music, the music suit is supposed to be the fire suit, the wands. Melancholy is a keyword or a key phrase that you would associate with the Five of Cups. So I read this as the Five of Cups. I don't read this as the Five of Wands. So it's kind of an interesting deck in that sense. See, like, this is what the Three of Water, I guess, because it's painting. The paint practice doesn't really make sense with like the Three of Cups practice. Or even like the Eight of Painting, the Eight of Cups, discipline, kind of sounds more like the Eight of Pentacles to me. So the painting, I actually read it as the Pentacles suit, I think. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. I just kind of wanted to remark on that. Really interesting deck though. Very, very up there. Very, not woo, but very idiosyncratic is the best way I can put it. Yeah, I don't bring it out a lot, is what I'm trying to say. But I do value it in my collection. I value having it in my collection. I'm really glad I do have it. So, what else? Okay. I have, what should I mention first? Okay, so recently I discovered through divination and putting together like signs, prophetic dreams I'd had, just like putting all the puzzle pieces together from, you know, just stuff I'd experienced over the last 3-4 years, in terms of like finding who my patron deity is. And it's really oscillated. It's changed a lot. Because of the signs I've received, I've thought everything from, be it Isis to even Aphrodite, Hecate. I don't know. I've just received so many mixed signals that it's been hard to like pinpoint who was communicating with me. But then I don't know, I had like this experience where I started thinking about those dreams I'd had, about the dream imagery that came to me, the woman that came to me in my dreams, how she was dressed, how she looked like, where she came from. It's a whole thing. I actually want to maybe dedicate a video to it. But and then I started putting together all the clues I'd received over the years. And then I did a deity reading of sorts, and it all just kind of came together, and I realized, wait, I'm, you know, and then I did a confirmation reading of that, and it confirmed what I was suspecting. And what I was suspecting was that actually my patron deity, my patron goddess, is Sophia, the Gnostic goddess of wisdom, or the personification of wisdom, Sophia. So that resonates. And Sophia and Isis do have a history of being linked, of being kind of conflated as the same goddess. So it makes sense that I did think it was Isis for a while. Sophia does present herself as Isis sometimes, or, you know, rather historically, Sophia has sometimes been, you know, mixed with Isis. Has to be honest, Isis is kind of a kind of like a catch-all for a lot of goddesses. A lot of goddesses come from Isis, and Isis also represents, no, not represents, Isis is also associated with a lot of other goddesses. So it makes sense like I said, that I thought it was Isis, but it is Sophia. And this is a deck I got. I always communicate with, I always try to channel Sophia when I'm reading now. But so I don't have a particular preference for, in terms of decks that I would use to communicate with her, but I do quite like this deck, the Raphaelite. Oh my god, I can't say it. The Pre-Raphaelite tarot. I do quite like this one specifically to talk with her because I just get Sophia energy from it. So I wanted to talk about that little nugget of yeah, I've discovered that my patron deity is Sophia. So I'm going to be looking into a lot of Gnostic. I kind of love this sun. It feels a little bit psychedelic, doesn't it? Okay, so that's that. I'll be looking into Gnostic texts because I'm really curious. I'm really intrigued by Gnosticism. You know, not necessarily Christian Gnosticism, although they kind of go hand in hand, but Gnosticism in general, Gnostic texts. Gonna be looking into that. I'm gonna start with Pistis Sophia, which is, I guess, the obvious choice. Yeah, and if you have any recommendations for me, I'd love to hear them. Okay, so that aside, Sophia aside, I've been so enamored with, I got this really recently, the Sustain Yourself Oracle, because I saw it on, oh, I forget, Magpie Tarot, I believe. I'm so sorry if I got your name wrong, Magpie Tarot. I saw it on their channel. I really hope that is the right name. I'm not confusing you with someone else. I did see this on some other people's channels, but it was mainly theirs that I saw this deck. Saw like a larger focus on this deck, and I just fell in love with it, and I don't know, it was love at first sight. It's so it's so cheesy bad, but it's so good. I love it. I think it's beautiful in its own way, and I've just been so enamored with using this. I've been like using it like as a way to reflect on the lessons that I need to learn for the day. So I'll pull another tarot deck. I'll pull a tarot deck, and then from like the cards I get, I'll pull a card for each tarot card. Like, for example, how do I integrate the Four of Pentacles today? And then I'll look at what I get from this deck. And I love it so much. I can't stop using it. I'm like absolutely enamored with it. And it's inspired me as well. Like, it's inspired my poetry, and it's given me like a much needed little boost of optimism, I guess. Yeah, like positivity, optimism, light, which I really need right now because like I said, my mental health is kind of in the shitter. So this is a great pick for me right now. I love it so much. And also, okay, I'm gonna wait, should I finish off the video with, no, because I still haven't done my TBR. Okay, I'm gonna try and go through this quickly so it doesn't get too long. I also came up with the spread, although I probably suspect that someone else has had the same idea before. I don't have the space to like show the full thing on here, but I'll break it down. So basically you do like a 9-card tableau, so 3 rows. You can use just one deck, you don't need multiple decks. And then the top row represents, okay, so the middle row represents the ego, which is what you are experiencing, what the ego is experiencing. The top, that's the middle row, sorry. The top row represents the superego, and that is like advice from above or from your higher self, your better self, the whatever you want to call it, the superego, right? And then the bottom row is that represents the id, so that's the hidden desires, hidden motivations, hidden energy in general, behind what the ego is experiencing. And it gives you quite a thorough look at, it gives you quite a detailed look into like a detailed snapshot of what you're dealing with, right? So I'm not gonna like show the decks, but I'll just for reference sake, I'll tell you what I've been using. You don't have to use several decks. This is just me. Okay. So I've been using, for the ego, I've been using recently, this will change, this will be subject to change, but recently I've been using the Aquarian Tarot for the ego part, the Nicoletta Ciccoli for the id. I think it makes sense because the id is tied to the inner child. And then I got the Angel Tarot by, I believe, Travis McHenry, is it? And this is the superego. This is the advice from above. It's kind of a weird deck to work with. Doesn't really, like, the angel characteristics don't really line up with the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings very much. It's almost like it's a deck that's supposed to be used for invocation of angels rather than divination per se. I don't know, but I still use it for divination purposes. But of course, I will consider using it if I want to invoke any of these angels. So I'm using this as like to represent the superego, right? Because the superego is like the little angel on your shoulder, and the id is like the little devil on the other shoulder. Okay, so wrapping this up, I kind of quickly want to go through books. So TBR. Oh, I completely forgot. I'll show this off in, I'll just show this off in my recent acquisitions video. The Taroki Yokai, the Yokai Tarot. I really hope this comes out in English because it needs to be in English. But I couldn't wait, so I got it in Italian. Italian because the French version, I do understand some French, but because I'm bilingual, I'm Spanish Brit, it's easier for me to understand Italian. It's like closer to my native language, so I picked up the Italian version. I'll talk about this in another video, okay? I've also been reading this guidebook, great, the Sustain Yourself Oracle, this is great. What else? Okay, so this is more of a TB. Oh no, I'm rereading M-Train. Of course, I'm always rereading some Patti Smith book. I don't know, I don't know. I don't know. I just have a thing for Patti Smith, for her writing. And then also I've been reading this in like, and kind of, taking it, digesting it quite slowly, as you would with any poetry anthology, in my opinion. You have to digest it quite slowly and take it in parcels, because each poem is like its own self-contained universe, and this one is quite intense. It's called Spells, 21st Century Occult Poetry. Really, really good. I don't know if I have time to read any of the poems because a lot of them are quite long. I love this one, Incantation Against Mumsnet. If you know, you know. But yeah, so I've been reading that on and off. I started reading this very dense. I did actually feature this in the last video, the one that got deleted. And I have not progressed since then. I have not made any progress with this book. It's very dense, but it's very, very good. Yeah, it's about connecting the unconscious, the dream world with the underworld. Okay, let me just read what it says here because, yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. In his new book, James Hillman develops the first new view of dreams since Freud and Jung. In a profound extension of Jung's ideas of the collective unconscious, Hillman goes back to classical theories in terms of the poetics of mythology. He relates our dreaming life to the myths of the underworld, the dark side of the soul, its images and shadows, and to the gods and figures of death. This leads to a re-visioning of dream interpretation in relation to the psychology of dying. He concludes with a long section on specific dream images and themes as they appear in psychological praxis. So good. I really need to finish this. Okay, and then, how long do I have? Yeah, almost an hour. Then to be read, this giant fucking monster of a book. It's only 400 pages, but it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I was very curious. I got a geomancy deck, so I was very curious about geomancy, and it got this very cheesy looking book, but it's very substantial. A lot of substance in it. A lot of information. I started reading I've only gotten through the intro, but it's really good so far, and I feel like this is going to be a must-have for I guess my geomancy practice, which apparently is now a thing and that I'm going to start doing. Yeah, and the last one is, I haven't even opened this book. I just got it. Weather Underwater by Kaisa Saarinen. We actually follow each other on Twitter, so I don't know if she'll ever see this, but I'm really excited about this one. Yeah, really, really, really excited. I love her poetry. So yeah, that's that. I think this dragged on long enough. I'll try and edit it down as usual, but you know me. I can't shut up and I can't stop stuttering, and I always have a lot to show and say, so this video is going to be long, as they tend to be. Yeah, anyway, next video that's gonna come out is the 54321 tag, and yeah, more videos to come. I think I've gotten back into the groove of content creation, so that's a plus. So anyway, see you around, and yeah. See you around.